The moment I stepped through that mahogany door, I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I was about to find out if I had made the best decision of my life or if I had just stepped into the biggest mistake I could ever make. Patricia Whitmore's face shifted into something that was hard to read, like she was trying to smile, but something in her expression said she had just tasted a lemon while posing for a photograph. Her eyes scanned me from head to toe, lingering on my navy dress, my modest flats, and my simple, understated jewelry. I could feel her calculating my worth in her mind, and the number she arrived at clearly wasn't worth much in her eyes. She leaned towards her son, my fiancé, Marcus, and whispered something she thought I wouldn't hear. But I heard every word, every syllable. She said I looked like the help who had wandered into the wrong entrance. And that's when I knew for sure, this dinner wasn't going to be just another family gathering. It was going to be a test. A test I wasn't sure I was ready for, but one that I needed to pass. Please like this video and listen to my story until the end. Let me know where you're listening from. I want to know how far this story has traveled. I love hearing from all of you, and it means so much to me. Now, let me introduce myself properly. My name is Ella Graham, and I'm 32 years old. I've got a confession that's been weighing on me for quite some time. For the past 14 months, I've been hiding a huge secret from the man I was supposed to marry. It's not the kind of secret where you steal the last slice of pizza and blame it on the dog. It's not even the type of secret where you pretend you're not still attached to your childhood teddy bear. No, this secret was much, much bigger. I make $37,000 a month. Before taxes. Even after taxes, it's a figure that would make any accountant pause, do a double take, and ask if I'm sure I've done the math right. And yet Marcus, my Marcus, the man I've fallen in love with, had no idea. He thought I was an administrative assistant who could barely afford to pay her rent. Now, I never lied to him outright. When we met 14 months ago in a coffee shop, he asked what I did for a living, and I told him I worked in tech. He nodded like he understood, and then he asked if I handled scheduling for the executives. I gave him a vague response, something about supporting the team, and left it at that. He filled in the blanks, and I never corrected him. Why? Why would I let the man I was falling in love with think I was struggling financially when I could have bought him a new car 10 times over? Because I learned something from my grandmother a long time ago, something that changed everything for me. My grandmother raised me after my parents passed away when I was 7. She lived simply, in a modest house in a quiet neighborhood, drove an old car, and never wore anything flashy. She taught me how to cook meals that were simple but comforting, how to find joy in the little things, and above all, how to never ever judge my worth by the amount of money in my bank account. But what I didn't know until she passed away when I was 24 was that my grandmother was worth millions. She had built a small business empire when she was young, invested wisely, and lived frugally because she believed that the true measure of a person's worth wasn't in the things they owned, but in the character they displayed. She left me everything when she passed, and a letter that I still keep in my nightstand drawer. In that letter, she wrote something I've never forgotten. A person's true character only shows when they think no one important is watching. When they think you have nothing to offer, when they think you're beneath their notice, that's when you see who they really are. So, when Marcus invited me to dinner at his parents' estate and hinted that this might be the night things would get serious, I made a choice. I would give the Whitmore family the test my grandmother had taught me. I would show up as the simple, unassuming woman they expected. I would wear modest clothes, drive my old car, and speak humbly about my situation. And I would watch how they treated me, someone they thought couldn't help them, someone they thought was beneath their notice. I'm not proud of it. But tell me, have you ever wondered what your partner's family really thinks of you? Have you ever had that nagging feeling that the smiles are fake, the compliments hollow? Have you ever wanted to know the truth, even if it might hurt? I needed to know. Because I wasn't just considering marrying Marcus. I was thinking about marrying into his family. And families, as my grandmother always said, are forever. Before I go on with the rest of my story, can I ask you to hit that like button and let me know in the comments if you've ever been in a similar situation? If you've ever wondered what people think of you, especially when you're trying to fit in with their expectations, you're not alone in this. It feels hard to face, but it's important. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about standing your ground and reclaiming your life. So there I was, about to enter the Whitmore estate, where my test would unfold. But I had no idea just how much I was about to uncover. Stay with me as we dive into what happened next, when things took a turn I never expected. The dining room was twice the size of my apartment, with a chandelier so massive I half expected it to start talking like in Beauty and the Beast. A long, gleaming table stretched down the center of the room, set with bone china, polished silverware, and crystal glasses that probably cost more than my first car. Marcus led me to a seat near the middle. As I sat down, Patricia, his mother, barely waited for the chair legs to touch the floor before launching her first attack. "So, Ella," she said, folding her perfectly manicured hands, "tell us again, what is it you do in tech?" There it was. The test had begun. Her tone was sweet, but her eyes were sharp. The whole table seemed to freeze, forks hovering midair, eyes turning toward me like spotlights. I smiled politely. "I help with back-end systems and data solutions," I replied, keeping it vague. She tilted her head. So, like spreadsheets and scheduling and all that?" I nodded, sipping my water. "Some of that, sure." The way she smiled, tight and satisfied, told me all I needed to know. She thought she'd pegged me. In her mind, I was a glorified receptionist. And that made me harmless. Then came the questions. "Do you rent, or do you have one of those tiny condos the city's so proud of these days? Must be hard making it on your own salary. I assume Marcus helps you with things. Do you shop at, what's that store, Target? I hear their basics are quite affordable." Each one was a dagger disguised as curiosity. I felt Marcus squirm next to me. He didn't speak up, just smiled awkwardly and took another bite of lamb. Maybe he didn't want to cause a scene. Maybe he thought I didn't notice the subtle jabs. Or maybe he noticed and didn't mind them. That scared me more than the comments themselves. His father, Richard Whitmore, finally joined the interrogation. "Ella, I assume you're planning to quit work once you're married? Marcus will provide, of course." He said it like a decree. I forced another smile. I haven't thought that far ahead, honestly. Richard gave a single dry chuckle. "Well, I can't imagine there's much of a future in whatever it is you do." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about class or status. This was about control. Patricia and Richard weren't just testing me. They were trying to box me in, make sure I understood the pecking order. And in their eyes, I wasn't even on the ladder. But then came the moment that made my blood run cold. Patricia leaned forward, wine glass in hand, and said, "I'm just going to be honest with you, dear. You're lovely, and I can tell you've got a good heart. But this family, our family, has a legacy to uphold. Marcus is our only son. He's destined for great things. We need a partner for him who fits, and I'm not sure someone like you does." There it was. No more subtlety. Just a direct slap in the face, wrapped in a compliment. I locked eyes with her. For a second, I forgot all about the plan, the test, the humble act. I wanted to scream, to call out their arrogance, their cruelty. But instead, I just smiled. "Well," I said softly, "thank you for your honesty." That seemed to confuse her. She blinked, as if expecting me to cry or get defensive. I didn't. I just sat there, calm and composed, letting her believe she'd won. But inside, I had made a decision. I would let them dig their hole. I would let them show me every corner of their ugly truth. And when the time was right, I would reveal mine. Because this wasn't just about me anymore. This was about the woman who raised me. the one who taught me that silence can be the most powerful scream. Have you ever had someone try to put you in your place just because they thought they were better than you? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button and share this story if you've ever had to stay quiet until the time was right. So I kept my mouth shut and played along. But what happened the next morning changed everything. Because I wasn't the only one hiding a secret. And what I found out about Marcus, well, let's just say his family wasn't the only one wearing a mask. Stay tuned for part 3. I didn't sleep much that night. After dinner, we stayed for coffee and polite conversation, but my mind was somewhere else, replaying Patricia's words, Richard's arrogance, and Marcus's silence over and over like a broken record. We drove back to the city in silence. Marcus reached for my hand at one point, but I didn't take it. I was too busy thinking, not just about how his parents treated me, but how he let them. The next morning, I woke up early, showered, and sat at the edge of the bed, watching Marcus sleep. I wondered, was he really the man I thought he was? Or was he just good at pretending? He stirred awake, smiled at me, and said, "You were amazing last night. I'm sorry about my parents. They just need time." Time. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But something inside me had shifted. Later that afternoon, while he was at the gym, I made a cup of coffee and opened my laptop. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. I just needed clarity. I needed to understand who I was planning to build a life with. We had shared access to our cloud storage, mostly for things like travel plans and receipts. I clicked into a folder I hadn't seen before. It was titled Prenup. I froze. My heart beat louder than the city traffic outside. I opened the file. And there it was, a draft of a prenuptial agreement. Not written by Marcus, but about me. Written by his parents' attorney. And worse, with notes. Marcus's notes. Things like, cap spousal support. She might be marrying me for financial security. Protect family trust, especially real estate and inheritance assets. Restrict joint ownership of future properties, just in case. And then, this line, consider delaying engagement announcement until background check is complete. I slammed the laptop shut and stared at the wall. I felt like I had just been punched in the chest. He didn't trust me. He had been smiling at me, kissing me, planning a wedding with me, and secretly planning how to protect himself from me. From a version of me he had completely invented in his mind. A gold digger. A burden. A risk. And the irony? I was worth more than him. 10 times more. The rage built slowly. But beneath it was something else. Something quieter. A kind of heartbreak you don't recover from. He didn't love me. He loved the idea of a woman who needed him. Who would stay quiet. Be grateful. Fit into his family's image. But I wasn't that woman. I closed my eyes, took a breath, and made a decision. It was time to tell the truth. Have you ever discovered something about someone that changed everything? A text? A secret file? A gut feeling you couldn't ignore? Share it in the comments. Your stories help others know they're not alone. And if this story is resonating with you, hit that like button. It tells me to keep going. The next day, I invited Marcus and his parents to lunch. Neutral ground. Casual atmosphere. But what I had planned, it wasn't casual at all. It was the moment I'd been waiting for, to reveal exactly who I was, and what I knew. And let me tell you, Patricia's face when I told her, worth every single second of pretending to be poor. You're not going to want to miss part 4. I chose the restaurant carefully. It was elegant but understated, modern, expensive, and quiet enough to hear every subtle gasp and whispered insult. The kind of place where power lunches were conducted behind polite smiles and $1,000 handbags. I booked the private dining room. I wanted no distractions. Just the four of us, Marcus, Patricia, Richard, and me. When they arrived, Patricia gave me her usual half-smile. Marcus leaned in for a kiss. I offered my cheek instead. We made small talk while the waiter poured wine. Richard ordered the most expensive steak on the menu, of course. Marcus kept checking his phone. Patricia talked about her charity gala and dropped names like confetti. But I was calm, because I knew what was coming. When the waiter finally left us alone, I folded my napkin neatly and said, "There's something I'd like to share with you." Marcus looked concerned. Patricia perked up like a cat spotting a mouse. "I've been dishonest," I said. "Not about who I am, but about what I do." Patricia laughed softly, like she'd just won a bet. "We assumed as much." "I know," I said with a nod. "You assumed I was after Marcus's money, that I was some underpaid assistant trying to climb into your world." Richard scoffed. "Let's not make a scene, Ella." "Oh, I'm not," I said, smiling. "I'm just setting the record straight." I reached into my bag and pulled out a slim folder, the kind you'd use for high-stakes meetings. I slid it across the table toward Patricia. She opened it. Inside were two simple things: a printout of my company's latest earnings statement, my name listed at the top as founder and CEO, a Forbes feature article titled, "The Woman Behind One of Tech's Fastest-Growing AI Startups." Silence. Then Patricia read the line under my photo out loud, almost choking on the words, "Ella Graham, 32, self-made tech millionaire." I took a sip of wine. I make over $37,000 a month in passive income. That doesn't include quarterly dividends or the acquisition offers I've turned down. Marcus blinked. "Wait, what?" I turned to him. "You never asked, Marcus. You just assumed. You liked thinking of me as someone who needed you, who would be grateful to be rescued." I didn't mean," he stammered. "You drafted a prenup before you even proposed," I said, voice steady, with notes like, "Delay announcement until background check clears." "I read it." Patricia's eyes widened. You hacked into our legal." "No, Patricia," I interrupted, cool and clear. "You gave Marcus access. Marcus gave me access. I didn't need to hack anything. I just clicked." Richard leaned forward. "This doesn't change anything. You still lied." I smiled. "No. I simply let you reveal yourselves." Then I turned to Marcus. "You had the chance to stand up for me at dinner. You didn't. You let them belittle me. You stayed quiet." He looked like a child who'd just been caught cheating on a test. "I'm not mad," I said. "I'm just done." I stood up. I didn't yell. I didn't throw the wine in anyone's face. I simply looked at them one last time and said, "Next time, don't judge people by what you think they don't have. Judge them by how they act when they think you have nothing." And then I walked out. Just like that. If you've ever stayed silent to let people reveal who they really are, tell me about it in the comments. Was it worth it? Did you feel powerful or just sad? Stories like this one hit deep for a reason. And if you're still here, hit that like button and share this with someone who needs the reminder. Your worth isn't measured by someone else's assumptions. I thought that was the end of it. But 3 weeks later, Patricia showed up at my office, uninvited. What she asked me, I never saw it coming. Stay tuned for part 5. 3 weeks after that dinner, I was sitting at my desk, going over some new proposals, when I heard a soft knock on my office door. I didn't even need to look up to know who it was. The crisp, impeccable heels, the scent of expensive perfume, it could only be Patricia. I didn't invite her in. She stood in the doorway for a moment, probably rehearsing how to sound important. I ignored her. I'd learned a lot about ignoring people like her. Finally, she cleared her throat. Ella, we need to talk. I put down my pen slowly and looked at her. She was wearing the same calculating smile, but today it didn't reach her eyes. About what? I asked, keeping my voice steady. About Marcus, she began. About what's best for him. Best for him. I repeated, raising an eyebrow. You mean what's best for you? She stepped inside, her face flushed with something I could only describe as desperation. Don't be like this, she said, her tone softening just enough to make me uneasy. I came here to apologize. We both got off on the wrong foot. I see that now. I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence stretch between us. The words wrong foot were an understatement. You didn't get off on the wrong foot, Patricia, I said, my voice calm but unwavering. You got off on the wrong path. And I'm done being part of the game you've been playing. She glanced at the floor, collecting her thoughts. Marcus still loves you, she said, her voice cracking slightly. He was confused, and I manipulated him. I've always manipulated him. I know that. But he needs you, Ella. We need you. I almost laughed, but stopped myself. They needed me? I didn't reply immediately, just watched her, letting her squirm. The power was all mine now. You think I'm stupid, don't you? I finally asked, voice low. You think you can come in here and, offer me a redemption arc? Like I'm just some character in a story you can rewrite. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. I already told you, I said, leaning forward. You don't need to fix Marcus. You need to fix yourselves. All of you. But the truth is, you can't fix a foundation built on lies and manipulation. That's why I walked away. And that's why I won't go back. Her eyes hardened, but she quickly masked it behind a carefully constructed expression. You think this is about the money, don't you? I shook my head. No, Patricia. This was never about the money. I paused, then added, this was about the truth. And the truth is, Marcus isn't the man you think he is. He's just a reflection of you. Her face went pale. I've been protecting him for a long time, I continued, but I can't do that anymore. Not when I'm the one being played, too. And certainly not when I know everything he's been hiding from me. Her gaze faltered. What do you mean? You still don't get it, do you? I laughed softly. It's not just about him. It's about you. About everything you've taught him to value. Money, power, status. You taught him to see the world through a lens of superiority. Patricia's voice dropped, the faux warmth gone. You don't understand what you're up against. I stood up from my desk slowly, a confident smile curling on my lips. I think I understand exactly what I'm up against. And I'm not afraid. In fact, I'm already ahead. I reached into the drawer of my desk and pulled out the folder with all the research I'd gathered, everything I'd learned about the Whitmore family's financial troubles, the shady deals, the embezzling, and more. I slid the folder toward her. Here's the truth, Patricia. Take a look. You might find it a little harder to control Marcus when everyone else starts seeing what you've been hiding all these years. Her eyes flickered to the folder, then back to me, full of fear. You wouldn't I? I asked, my voice cold. I just did. You don't need to worry about Marcus anymore. He's your problem now. As for me, I'm going to keep building my life, just like I've been doing. Without you. Patricia didn't say anything else. She grabbed the folder, practically shaking, her hands fidgeting with the edges. She glanced up at me one last time, but the fear in her eyes said more than any words ever could. And just like that, she was gone. If you've ever had to stand your ground like this, Had to walk away from a situation because you realized your worth wasn't dependent on someone else's approval? Tell me in the comments. If you've ever had to stand strong against manipulation, share your story. You're not alone in this. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe for more stories of strength, resilience, and reclaiming your life. I never looked back. Not once. But what happened next? Well, that was the part one didn't expect. The fallout was just beginning. Stay tuned to see how everything unfolds.